Hi again, Doug here from X-Frames FPV. Well, today we've got a build out for you on the ACX 190. I'm just kind of holding it together here. This is a really interesting frame. This is from over across the pond, as they say in the UK. This is sent to me from Peter, wanted me to build it out. And we're going to do some interesting, we're going to be mixing it up. We're going to be running a low KV 6S build here on a really interesting frame to begin with. So let's go ahead and get to the tabletop and we'll go right over the build out. All right, let's get right into this. This is, again, this is from AeroXCraft. This is the AXC 190 X5. And you can tell right away just by looking at it, it's a very differently designed drone. So we're going to do some different things. Let's kind of get into some of the things that we're going to do different than what we would normally do. And that's going to start off, first of all, with the motors. And let me make sure you can see that. It's kind of hard. It doesn't show up. There we go. There's the, right there. These are the returner. These are 2207s, and these are 1660 kV. There you go. 1660 kV. And what we're going to do with this, you know, Catalyst Machine Works, they've been doing some testing on low kV, high voltage setups. In other words, instead of running a, like our common is, I would say right now the average kV is in the 2500 kV with a 2207 or up motor. When we run a 4S with that, 75C to 95C, and 1300 to 1500 milliamp battery. Well, with this, you're running lower kV, so you can push more voltage to it. But when you push more voltage, you draw less current with lower kV. And so what ends up happening is the performance is similar to a high kV 4S setup, but the advantage is that we're not stressing the batteries. And so instead of running a 75C, you can run something like a 35 or 45C, at least that's the theory, and get kind of the same performance and run a smaller 1000 milliamp, I believe is what he was running as far as the battery. And so the real advantage to that is no more puffing batteries, no more just stressing our batteries, which we go, you know, a lot of racers go through batteries pretty quickly because they're pushing hard, and they don't even care what their battery's doing as long as it gets them through the race. And then at the end, hopefully they haven't puffed it, and a lot of times they will, because full throttle is just hard on any battery for any extended length of time. So that's kind of the theory, and we're going to test that theory out here and kind of see what the advantages are. I've always liked higher KV, lower KV, higher voltage builds, 5S with a, you know, maybe a 1900 or even a 2100 kV on a 5-inch. I've always liked that. I've always felt that it flew, that had a lot of power and no drawbacks to battery. So guys over there at Catalyst Machine Works has taken it a step further, and so we're going to kind of put that to test here. This is a fun frame to try it on because it's very different. Frame weighs right around 100 grams. I can't get a weight for it because I've already started kind of test fitting some of the components, because it is a little bit different of a build, as you can see. You can kind of zoom in here a little bit more on it. And so, you know, we've got obviously the carbon fibers tubular. That should be really nice to kind of give us some nice wind resistance and help be a little bit more aerodynamic, or at least that's the thought. As far as ESCs, we're running, well, this is my go-to now. This is my favorite ESC, at least right now on the market. That's a Hobbywing 40 amp 4-in-1, takes up to 5S, and it's just, for me, I don't know what other people, I know that a lot of people are running these, but for me, they've been rock solid. Have not had an issue with them. So the only issue I've ever had, even with any of the Hobbywing stuff, is the LED system. If you try to run LEDs with their flight controller, sometimes there's issues there, but that's all I've had. If you're going to run 5S, I would suggest with any build running a cap on it. This is not going to be an issue on this. We're not going to be running high current, so it shouldn't be a problem. but it sits in there really nice. It's about as low as I could get it. We just have just a single plastic nut in there that, you know, comes with these standoffs. Left us enough room underneath that when we sandwich the flight controller on top, let me see, slide that on there. You can see here, there's enough room there for the receiver. And so that's good. But speaking of flight controller, let's get to what that is. This is the Joshua Bardwell. This was the customer asked to have this put in, and I'm more than happy to try it out. I respect Joshua a lot, and when it comes to knowing the specifics of a lot of the detailed ins and outs of electronics, I really like that about how he approaches things. And this thing just seems to have everything you need. And so I'm not going to go into any detail. If you want to find out about his flight controller, I would go to his website, because he's going to give you a lot better information than I am, for sure. But I do like how easy it is laid out. Let's see here. It's really easy to get to both the power for the ESCs and also the signal wire. Just super simple, and it's laid out really well. Boot pins towards the outside. It's not on the very out, but outside enough that it's not going to be an issue. And obviously he does have SD card slot there, because I know that Joshua does run black box, and then obviously that big F4 chip. So we're going to get that in there, run Betaflight OSD through it, all that fun stuff. Let me see, camera. We're going to run the Rotor Riot. This is the version 2, so this is the Swift 2. Does have built-in OSD. We won't be using the built-in OSD on it. We're going to be using the OSD that comes running it through Betaflight. I really do like this camera. You know, full-size cameras, a lot of us are running micros, and a lot of times that's what I'd run. This mount is perfect for a full-size, and I think it just really looks, if you kind of look at the whole build, the build as a whole, I think it's just a great looking camera to put in there, and so it's a great fit for that. So the VTX that I like to use is the Tramp. I'll use either the Tramp or the TBS Unify HV. The only time that I'll use a Unify, not that it's a bad one, but I've just started using the Tramp, and that's what I'm sticking with. They seem to have a little bit better maybe heat displacement because of this heat sink that's on top. But the disadvantage is the width is about 1 millimeter wider, or thicker, I'm sorry, than the Unify. And that's not always a big deal, but sometimes in certain builds, you don't have that extra millimeter and you've got to use a Unify. So that's what we're going to use in here. You know, this is going to be a really interesting build. Obviously, we're going to have to give you guys some flight footage and really see its comparison. You know, maybe we'll try, once I get it all up weight done, I've got quite a few drones here that I can choose from. Maybe we'll try to just show the difference between power. It's kind of a hard thing to do unless I was to build really just another exact machine with the higher KV and 4S. So I'm not sure we'll do that, but we'll definitely show you some flight footage and get it out there and really see how well this thing handles with these 1600 or 1660, I believe is what they are. Yeah. With these 1660 kV motors, and then that way we really get an idea of is this the way of the future? I don't know if it is. I mean, it would have to be a pretty resounding yes for the whole industry to change their what they're doing now. Everybody's running 13 to 1500 4S for the most part. And so it would have to be something that would really change a lot of people's minds, but it's fun to play with. And I can't think of something more interesting we're doing an interesting KV and high voltage on a very interesting frame that when it's all said and done, it should be really, really beautiful. And so we'll get that built, do another follow-up video, and give you guys an idea of what it looks like. Appreciate you guys hanging with me, man. Sometimes I chitter chatter. I've talked to you about this before. You know, my dad was a Baptist preacher, and so sometimes I have a little bit of Baptist preacher in me and just go on talking and talking because I really feel when I'm talking that I'm talking to you guys. So I hope it doesn't bother you. My last video I talked about coffee, and after I got done, I'm like, dang it, nobody's going to want to hear about coffee, but it seemed to be okay with people. And so you can check out, I believe, let me look up, I'll put the link in the description, but the website is AXC-drones.com. They're a UK company. I think to get one of these in the US, you'd probably spend about $100. And this is going to Peter in Singapore. Well, he's a Brit, so of course he's going to like it. And I don't blame him. It is really as he would say, a beautiful piece of kit. So guys, again, appreciate you. Check out my website, xframesfpv.com, and I hope you get some time to fly.